सौः सौः क्लीं ऐं क्लीं सौः
Hello. Recently, I heard a remark by
ऐं
Otrok Vyacheslav
क्लीं
in terms
सौः.
how the ancient people used to take herbs, namely, mainly as fresh juice extracts without any water. And then I made the connection that actually in the Amazon jungle, this is also widely used. In contrast to our standard method here in the West to dry everything up and then make it into a tea. And then, when a few days ago, the man who is connected to this Bogomil spirit also told me the same thing, and then I decided, wow, the same thing is coming from three independent sources, so it must be true, and maybe I should make a short video about it. So basically, according to Trok Vyacheslav, herbal medicine used to be quite different in the old times when people knew much more about herbs. And at that time, the main extraction method was to make juice out of the plant while being very careful that no water goes inside the juice. For example, the herb should not be collected early in the morning when there is dew or when there is slight rain, or the utensils which are used should not be even slightly wet. And when a pure juice is extracted in such a way, the good thing about it is that it will stay refrigerated at least 1 year, and in some cases even couple of years. The proper way to store it is in the fridge in a glass container, preferably dark. And even if some slight pieces of mold start appearing on the surface, one can carefully remove them and still use the juice. And out of my personal experience, I can tell you that when I came back from Peru, over there, the wild tribes, they also use this method, by the way. They don't use the dry everything up and then make it into a tea. They use this method, and they made some juice for me, which I forgot in the suitcase for a couple of years without refrigeration. And when I opened it, it was still good. It was still good. It showed absolutely no signs of decay, and when I took it, it worked as fresh. It tasted as it tasted when it was fresh, and it did the same job. Probably it was at least 2-3 years old. Another good thing about this type of juices is that they will have very high potency, and often just few drops will be more than enough. Because according to Trok Vyacheslav, when we dry up plants to make them into the standard herbs, which we later on take as capsules or as tea, he says that by far most of the healing properties of the herb, they go away and they disappear when the plant is dried. And when we take the juice, everything is still alive, so we need a much smaller quantity. Of course, this is not applicable to all herbs. It is very general. Certainly, there are exceptions. Even in older times, there are certain herbs which will even increase in potency when you dry them up and make a tea later on. So I've been trying for a few days now to extract the juices from different things that I find around in the garden. And it is not that difficult if you know how to do it, and you will usually get much more juice than you expect from a quantity of leaf that you have. So plants like, for example, mint, melissa, red clover, alfalfa, those are relatively easy. first I chop them in the chopping tool of the mixer, and then I used either hand mortar and pestle to make them into a paste, or meat mincing machine, and then I sieve that through a cloth. Probably if I had like an electric mincing machine, that could probably do the full job, but now it's kind of difficult, and because it's plastic, it also like almost it's half broken now. That's why if you have plants with lots of fiber, first you will need to chop them, because if you try to mince them without chopping, well, it broke my head meat mincer. The grinding tool of the mixer does not work for me. Maybe it will work for other models of mixers. And it seems that some herbs are simply too dry for any of these methods. For example, I tried to extract juice from hawthorn leaves, and it was impossible. So whenever it is just too dry, I guess the only option we have left is to mix it with water and make like some sort of smoothie with the mixer, and then run it through the sieve, through the mesh. And that can be stored, unfortunately, only for a couple of days in the fridge. But that is an easy option for those who live in tropical areas and have green supply all the year around. If you want to go really completely natural, then you could take a big flat stone and a good round river stone, or at least roundish, preferably one of the sides would be flat, and then simply kind of rub the herbs in between the two stones until they turn into paste, and then sieve that through a cloth. So in terms of collecting herbs and edible plants from the wild, I found what is the easiest method to learn from the books, because it can be a bit confusing. Yeah, so many herbs in the books, and when you go to the forest, which one should you search for? The easy method is like this. You get your books and you browse through them and you look at the pictures until you memorize at least some of them well. Just look very carefully at the photos. Then go to the forest and only look around and see what can you recognize. And after that, you read in the books about the description of the given herb. This I found to be a very easy and effective method compared to, for example, I need a herb for a given thing, which herb it will be, then 1 hour research, and then you find, this herb seems to be the best, but where to find it, and going only for 1 or 2 herbs in the forest, well, maybe you will not find them. But if you do this, just look at the pictures and then you look what you see around in the wild, and then you see what of what is there can be of any use to you. This really works well. So this is just one small tip about the future medicine of the new age, which will be replacing both the butchery medicine from the hospitals and most of the alternative medicine which we know of nowadays. Because as explained in the video series on healing, even the alternative healing is nothing else but a milder form, in most cases, not all, of the butchery medicine, because it is based on this Darwinian Freudian paradigm, which prepared the people for the transhumanism project, the trap in which most people have already fallen in. And medicine, as all other sciences, will be given in a ready-made form to the humanity via channels, via Christ, via his people. And that's how the human race always got it in the past, and that's how it will happen this time as well. So somebody is asking, how should I prepare for the end times when I am dependent on insulin to survive a day? Well, don't think that you're the only one who seems to be badly cornered. Actually, most people will be cornered just by different circumstances. Even when there are things that they just imagine are unsolvable, still for them the threat will seem to be uh, solid and tangible. So there is a good chance that they will discontinue medical help for people who are not fixed. But even if you get fixed just to get the daily dosage you need, eventually the infrastructure on which the daily dosage depends will be destroyed, and you won't get the benefits anyway, while the effects of the fix they will remain forever. Now, we still have some time left, and you could try to get out of that trap with natural means. I do not specialize in healing, so the method which I will suggest may not be the best natural healing method, but it will be surely one of those that have a chance to help you. And as you might have guessed, it's again microdosing on ayahuasca or iboga, depending on what is legal in your country. And if you are in US, also check the local laws, because there are very recent developments in different spots, isolated spots in US. At places, actually all drugs are decriminalized. So these two sacred plants either can help you in healing, or they can help you with providing the connection, the intelligence, so to say, the luck, which will connect you to healing modality, which may eventually get you out of the trap. So how to do it exactly? If iboga is legal where you are, get iboga root bark powder and start with just half a pinch, maybe 50 milligrams or only 100 milligrams of this powder. I'm not talking about any extract, just simple powder which you place below your tongue and eventually swallow. But while you do that, you really have to do it in a ceremonial setup, at least with lots of prayer, if not mantras and other components like resin incense. And your prayer will have to be very sincere. If you are not crying, maybe you are not praying well. So start with that type of dosage daily on an empty stomach, and eventually you can increase even up to half gram, or some people may reach even 1 gram. If you take more than that, it will not really harm you, but the psychedelic effects may appear, and some people will get confused, and they may think that it is getting out of control, although these sacred plants, and especially iboga, they control everything very well, but still, without trained help, it is good to stick to really microdosing. Actually, if the effects appear within a few days or within a week, you don't even need to increase the dose. Probably the effects will appear first in terms of disappearance of negativity in your thoughts, which eventually, within, it depends on your body, days, weeks, or months, which eventually can translate into uprooting the diabetes itself as well. Or you can try microdosing with the capi vine, one of the ingredients of the famous ayahuasca brew. that is the shredded vine, or maybe you can get pieces of the vine itself and shred them yourself with a hammer. The way to get most out of your supply, because that is not cheap either, is get, let's say, 100 grams of shredded material, and you will make a number of extracts. The first one will be just you pour freshly boiled water over the 100 grams, just enough to cover them, not more. Do not boil at all. So this first tea, divide it into, let's say, for beginning, into 5 or 10 parts. You can't really overdose, but to start slow, and you can take that for the first 5 or 10 days, again on empty stomach. You can leave the vine meanwhile in this water so that it soaks and more is extracted. After you finish the first batch of extract, make a second one. This time you just bring it to a boil or something like this to get a potency similar to what you got from the first extract. You can alternatively boil a large amount for many hours and then divide it, but then this exposure to higher temperatures for a long time will destroy some of the healing material. So if you want to get more out of the quantity of shredded vine that you have, with multiple extracts, that will work better. So the first extract you don't even boil, you just brew it for no, you just pour the water and it's ready. The second one you can just bring to a boil. The third one you can maybe boil for half an hour, and you will see how many extracts you can make until there is stuff coming out of the vine, and eventually you will end up boiling it a couple of hours. And even after that, don't throw away. Maybe you can dry it and keep it, and one day when you make your own charcoal, use that as material for the charcoal, because you will need some sort of wood to burn to make the charcoal. And by the way, this type of tea and this type of setup which I'm describing to you is also used in the Amazon jungle from one single ingredient, the kapi vine. So traditionally it is also used, and they also say it is for all sicknesses without an exception. So this could help, definitely. But no matter which of the two plants you choose to go for, you will have to put lots of prayer and possibly mantras in it. If you're doing less than 10 minutes, probably you're not doing enough of that. And then somebody else also asked about dependency on antidepressants. Well, I will recommend the same cure, but this time I can surely say that this is the best option that one could try. Again, check first well what is legal in your area. Sometimes there is also gray legal, illegal. That happens a lot with sacred plants. So check well before ordering anything. Is it legal or not, or is it a gray area, legal or illegal? So it seems that we've got at most 4 or 5 years before everything around turns seriously apocalyptic. At most, it could be even months, we don't know. And now is the time we have to deal with all addictions, because if we have any addiction left, surely the dark side will have a personally tailored for us scenario to put us at gunpoint for fixation, for accepting the mark based on the addiction we have. And I'm not sure if these two options with the two sacred plants are the most direct way for curing diabetes, but as long as dealing with addictions, this is definitely the easiest method which one could try at home. You can start with much lower doses if you're afraid of sacred plants. There is no problem and gradually increase. And you will have to formulate your prayer very, very well and precisely and tell the medicine, the brew or the power, you have to hold it very near to your mouth before you take it and really talk to it. The sound will program it and it will do whatever you order it to do. So I have seen personally people who cure decades long severe addictions to both drugs and very strong antidepressants within 5 to 7 ayahuasca ceremonies. But that is with good doses, so that can mean anything from a couple of weeks to a couple of months of microdosing on the two sacred plants, the way I described it earlier. And if you take any of the two plants in the way I just described and your prayer is really sincere enough, the chances of success are very, very high in terms of getting rid of any addiction. It's almost sure you will succeed. And while you do your microdosing, also take some sort of vow. The one I'm going to describe is really very mild. This is the mildest I can imagine, and that is while your microdosing treatment lasts, do not take any alcohol and no sugar. Absolutely no sugar. Just if you buy something from the shop, examine the label. If there is sugar on it, just don't take that. So no alcohol, no sugar, no caffeine at all. Also, online porn is very, very strong poisoning for the consciousness. That has to be avoided completely as well. And miracles will happen with these two sacred plants, even with microdosing, which doesn't necessarily produce any psychedelic effects. And returning to the original subject of the video, according to Otrok Vyacheslav, herbs should not be collected near rivers and roads. They should be at least 20 meters far away from rivers or roads. And also, who picks up the herb and who extracts the juice from it also has to do with the healing process. It's better to do it either yourself or a person who is on the right path. And also I have decided to include the beautiful example of Vedic chanting together with the link to a page where you can find most of the mantras that are being chanted. They are in glorification of Bala, Tripurasundari, a benevolent form of Devi, a peaceful one, not the dark ones with the protruding teeth, which are suitable only for advanced and properly initiated mantra practitioners who follow strict rules. So this website, I actually noticed that it's an exception. They have properly explained and written the mantras in a way in which a Western person can get some idea of how are really Vedic mantras chanted. So as I was browsing this website more and more, I was admiring it more and more. It is well made. They offer even online initiations for free and everything looked so good. And then I see sadly that they are even proud that all of their gurus are properly and fully fixed. I guess properly and fully means, they go for multiple shots. And it's barely a surprise. I checked a couple of others, very famous big gurus, which influence millions. all of them are on the same track. So I was thinking how sad that these people are on that track, because I was considering maybe possibly taking mantra specific initiation from some of them, because there is one initiation from guru which normally takes only once in a lifetime, but besides that there are mantra specific initiations when you approach somebody who has mastered a given mantra. Then when he kind of gives you permission and teaches you how to pronounce it and how it's to be chanted, then one has much higher chances of achieving the desired result. But I thought, well, obviously this is not the way. And then I opened just a random page from the numerous actually nice resources that they have on the website. I opened a random page and I started reading in the middle, and the paragraph which I ended up reading said that all these mantras should never be chanted without being properly initiated into them by somebody who has mastered them, except in situations in which one really needs help, but there is no way to find a person who could properly initiate him. Then one can place a picture of Dakshinamurti, that is Shiva, and accept him as a mantra giver, and then the mantras will still work. Well, maybe it wasn't by chance that I happened to open exactly that paragraph out of the thousands published there just before making this video.
Tripurasundari Mahamantrasya Dakshinamurti Rushihi Panktichandaha Bala Tripurasundari Devata Aim Bijam Sauhu Shaktihi Klim Kilakam Shri Bala Tripurasundari दर्शन भाषण सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोगः अरुण किरण जलैरञ्जित शावकाशा विधृत जप पटिका पुस्तकाभीतिहस्ता इतर करवराढ्या पुहल कल्हार संस्था निवसतु हृदि बाल नित्य कल्याणशीला पंचपूजलं पृथिव्यात्मिकायै गन्धं समर्पयामि हम आकाशात्मिकायै पुष्पै पूजयामि बालामन्त्रः ॐ ऐं क्लीं सौः सौः क्लीं ऐं क्लीं सौः ॐ ऐं क्लीं सौः सौः क्लीं ऐं क्लीं सौः ॐ ऐं क्लीं सौः सौः क्लीं ऐं क्लीं सौः हृदयादिन्यासः ऐं हृदयाय नमः क्लीं शिरसे स्वाहा सौः शिखायै वषट् ऐं कवचाय हुं क्लीं नेत्रत्रयाय वौषट् सौः अस्त्राय फट् भूर्भुवः सुवरोमिति दिग्विमोकः ध्यानम् अरुणकिरणजालै रञ्जिताशावकाशा विधृत इतरकरवराढ्या पुहलकल्हारसंस्था निवसतु हृदि बाला नित्य कल्याणशीला पञ्चपूजा लं पृथिव्यात्मिकायै गन्धं समर्पयामि हम् आकाशात्मिकायै पुष्पै पूजयामि यं वायव्यात्मिकायै धूपमाघ्रापयामि रम् अग्न्यात्मिकायै दीपं दर्शयामि वम् अमृतात्मिकायै अमृतं महानैवेद्यं निवेदयामि सर्वात्मिकायै सर्वोपचारपूजां समर्पयामि समर्पणं गुह्यातिगुह्यगोप्त्रीत्वं गृहाणास्मात् कृतं जपम् सिद्धिर्भवतु मे देवी त्वत्प्रसादेन